You're welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome to Diary of a Sleeping Goddess. So, in this episode, I really want to explore the wild feminine, if that didn't come out quite right, the divine masculine, and how we're navigating this through embodiment ultimately. And so, we've come past the new moon in Taurus, led by Venus, and it's really about grounding our desires, grounding the pleasure, the joy, the bliss, the abundance, all of that actually is actually our truth. However, we need to get through all our belief systems, our patterning, our conditioning of scarcity, of protection, of fear, of disconnection that runs through all of us, through our mental energy, emotions, and right down into our physical form, into our actual DNA that blocks it from expressing itself that way. So as I'm on that right now, the DNA, the trauma that comes through the feminine lineage, how I see this. So our DNA itself, the pure DNA, our blueprint, our DNA is exactly how it needs to be. There's nothing wrong with that part of the DNA. In fact, it has everything encoded that we already need and will ever need. What we do have though is trauma running along like a brace around it, like this carbon DNA that are bracing around the DNA. Where I've been shown is there's these nine, what they call dormant genes, actually aren't dormant. They're all about actually how they play the DNA, how they get the DNA to express itself, its epigenome expression. And it, for me, it feels like, the old flute, um, but keys, and it feels like it has blocked those. It stops them, they stick, they're not flowing, they're not easily moving, they're not finding their harmony, and they're dysregulated. And so trauma, which is proven for comes through the mitochondria DNA through the feminine line, which for women is it really sits within the womb, within our menstrual health, within our hormones. A mitochondria is like fundamental to everything that is life, that gives us life, that gives us the energy to be present, really. And there's light within that mitochondria, which I'm sure I'll come to at some point more into that. So you may well find with this episode that you just take little chunks from this, okay? Because I will be weaving different aspects in that have been showing me. And so with trauma, with the mitochondria, with the feminine lineage, which men absorb as well, I see it more in the gut for men. So the solar plexus. Um, and often if it's only one male in that family, they're lumbered with this from a generational thing, and but they can heal it. They may often have digestion issues, for instance, and so it's they can shift and move this, but we need to come into our feminine energy. We need to come into the consciousness that is the feminine, that has ultimately been suppressed, oppressed, abused, and shut down. And women will feel that. They have experienced it. And we will feel that very deeply in our blood, in our bones. And as this wild feminine is rising, she has risen in many forms. I have seen her from the last few years. She is rising up as, which would look like the scorned woman, blood, bones dripping, fire, rage. Like she has come up. I've done a lot of work with this where it's that conscious rage, and she's clawing herself out of earth, like blooded nails and everything, but she will not be held down any longer. And it's that sort of force, that sort of ugly energy, you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's beautiful because it's coming from a deep, deep seat of powerful self-love And a lot of women struggle with anger, struggle with being able to express that consciousness of their anger, because we have been suppressed again. It's okay for men to be angry because they've been suppressed to say you can't have emotions. Women are allowed to be emotions because they're weak, right? And this, you just got to listen to the patriarchal conditioning that we are all playing underneath and having to move through this. And so women haven't been necessarily comfortable with anger, especially if it's been expressed towards them as well, because then there'll be the whole judgment of that anger too. Whereas if you can actually hold consciousness for rage, for anger, for yourself in that present moment, to be observant of oneself, one anger, actually that part of yourself is saying, I deserve better, I am equal, I will not tolerate this, I am going to stand my ground, I'm going to claim my space, and fuck anything else that stops that. That is fucking powerful. It is beautiful, even if we think it's not pretty, right? So this can come up in brain fog, it will come up in hot flashes, it will come up in mood swings. This is what perimenopause, menopause is, this shift into the wise woman, and she is calling you to find who you truly, truly are, and conscious rage is fundamental to that. And I'm recording this in within liver time, within the spring, within May. We're coming also shifting towards gently into summer, into June, where it comes into heart. So liver and heart, and the back of that is where betrayal sits. It's like that. Really, so the liver will hold anger, rage, like fire, when it connects into the heart. But if we're not conscious of that, it can be blazing. And behind deeper of that, at the back of the heart, is that suppressed, simmering rage of betrayal. It's like, I've been betrayed, I've been angered, I've been hurt, and yet it's can't quite express it. It's also the back of the heart observing like everything. It's like, I am literally going to check if I can trust anything, and that will, or anyone, and it will hold you back, and it will hold your heart back from fully opening and expressing itself. And also in receiving love, joy, bliss, which I'll explain in a moment with what I have processed in the last 5 days, ultimately. And so for us to receive what has been shown for this new moon in Taurus, the bliss, the abundance, the beauty, we have to go through that shadow, that real part of ourselves, to ultimately enable ourselves to receive the masculine. And that's also the masculine that's already within you. And the masculine part of you is about being seen. It's about giving presence and holding for the feminine to be seen. Whereas a lot of us are in our masculine energy of the doing and the protecting, because we're living in survival. We're working from a survival perspective. And so actually when we're here as souls, as beings, through embodiment, we are actually meant to be, or if we choose to alchemize, to clear, and release ourselves from these survival patterns and the belief of separation, this illusion that we are separated from ourselves, from our bodies, from the hearters of ourself and the heart of source and each other. And because there's so much living in fear, we're holding ourselves, and actually the energies that is literally coming really up to the surface to see the fears, which can keep us locked in fear, because we go, well, I can see it and I can feel it, and we can stay in it. Or we can also think that actually the reason why it's so obvious right now, it's being seen, the light's being brought to it, is because the light of love, of unity, of truth is rising up. Mother Earth is rising. She's changing her frequency. She is opening her heart and she is clearing. She is detoxing and she is showing everything, everyone, what isn't in alignment to one's truth. And so that new moon was also about bringing in the masculine, the divine masculine, the pure masculine, the one that cherishes and loves and adores, wants to give pleasure and joy, doesn't want anything, doesn't desire anything from the woman to give to them. There's no entitlement. He literally adores the feminine, for she is what gives life. And desires to give her joy, to hold her, to enable her to be her true full self. If you think of the rose, the stem, the rose enables it to fully blossom. It doesn't want a shrunken violet. It doesn't want any of that. It wants the desire to see and witness this beauty and and exquisiteness that is the feminine. And so for us to do that, it's not so much seeking a man to do that for us. Obviously, men to do the work to enable women to feel safe within them, for them to regulate their nervous systems, their anger, their beliefs and attachments and entitlement and conditioning that has them believe that the feminine is some form of thing to own and hold on to. Them to understand their self-authority, to take responsibility, to find their nervous system, to find safety within them, to be able to find control within them, not control of others, it's control of self, even the sexual energy, to be able to control and manage and bring that into embodiment and like harvest that energy, which I actually saw was coming from cock energy up into heart. And then through that, from the mastery of that, a woman can feel safe. She can read his heart. They can read his energy through the skin and the nervous system. It's the same thing, somatics. It's the same. It's the fact the more she is embodied in her body, she can feel it. She's not having to think about it. She can feel it. She can know what her truth is through her body. And through being in her body, she can feel whether she is safe, where she is held, where she is safe to explore her full self, her full sensuality, her full power, to allow that in, and to also then to allow that connection, and to know that the connection is pure. And through cock energy up into heart, and then the late women reads that from the heart, she can bring that masculine energy back down into her womb, into her yoni. And that's where the union can become. That's where the portal, the gate that opens, that brings in heart consciousness and connection to the depth that is the womb, that is the portal of life, the gateway of life, and the creatix, that is where life all begins. And I have been shown, like the last few days, the creatix is really awakening. I've been shown, like through rose blessings at the beautiful festival that I've been, and I was shown the veins of a bee wing and a grapefruit, snake, cobras. In fact, I had for those that can see me in terms of the ones that are listening, if you imagine the swans together, their heads together, that vision of love, that heart, then suddenly turned around and bring side to side, which made a cobra shape, cobra head, and a tongue, that tongue of the cobra. And so I've been and dragonflies, I'm being shown like the whole, what creatix is, what holds the DNA for the potential of everything of life and how everything is connected. And that we talk about how pigs are so close to us from a chromosome. We're even more closer to a dragonfly. And it comes down to, we have this encodement of everything and the potential of everything, but it depends on how it chooses to express itself. Where I'm being led to now, and this isn't coming, it's like, what is the stimulus to enable this expression to bring into life? I'm just going to pause on that one for a moment because it's just something that's just come through. What is the expression? What is the stimuli that creates that expression? And like, what has chosen for us to grow us as a human, as this body? What chooses something then to grow as a dragonfly, as a grapefruit, what does that? It's really like, and for me, the wisdom that is the light that births us is Sophia Christ. She is the mother of all. She's the creatrix. And it's the coherence, it's that wisdom that's birthed from that light, from the ovum sparks. When the ovum chooses to sperm, it's not survival of the fittest, of the little spermies wiggling their little asses up towards the ovum and going, I'm the strongest, I'm going to bite my way in and I'm going to get in there. Can you see the stories and the patriarchal bullshit that we've all been told, man and woman? It's fucking nothing to do about that. It's to do with the ovum reading the frequency of that sperm, going, are you aligned to me? And she only allows the right one in, or two, if you're going to be twins. And that's the feminine. Again, like I was just talking about just then, in terms of the female reading the male's body and his nervous system. Are you in alignment for me to receive you? It comes right down to our beginning of our birth and how our ovum would have read that and understood that. And so this intellect, this wisdom goes beyond our minds. It's inherent, it's innate in our bodies. And the work that I do through, whether it's meditations or whether it's through hands-on, is all about tuning into that vital wisdom that goes beyond our mind, that's already within our bodies. It's that light, it's that water, that consciousness that carries the light, the plasma, the cerebral spinal fluid. You can see how it gets slowly deeper and deeper into physical form. The myofascial, the connective tissue, it's like a piezoelectricity. It's like the holding of it all together, enabling the presence of light into matter. I've really gone into a little beautiful world right now. And so just really understanding that beauty and that miracle that you are. And when you really feel it in your body, you allow the mind to start to dissolve, to let go of those patterns, those belief systems, those neural plasticity that we've created in fear and separation. And then you gradually, through feeling it deep in your body, where it's, that's your truth, even if the mind can't comprehend. You build from that place. You build up neuroplasticity, that love, that gratitude, that joy, that connection that your mind can't understand right now. And it will do at some point. The understanding comes later. It's the acceptance is the first part. And embodiment of that. The acceptance allows you to embody it. And once you've embodied it, the understanding comes. It's like the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve actually, it's so interesting where I'm going with all this. The vagus nerve, 80% of it actually comes from body up to mind. So the signals from the vagus nerve isn't head down, it's body up. Okay? Body up. And so this feels like, as I'm sharing this is about sacred conscious embodiment, which I talk about, where you allow yourself to receive from your heart, to know that you're working from the purest and highest light into your body, into the coherence that is your body, that is the blueprint of your body, and you're awakening and you're remembering and you're tuning your DNA. It's waking up. You're breaking down through the fire and the alchemy that is rage, to understand that you will no longer play the victim. You will no longer play the martyr. And that fire and that rage that comes through your heart that holds that will take away that carbon-based DNA and make it the diamond that you are. That compression, that tension, that everything, that diamond that's been so deep into the earth, that originally is carbon, but it stayed pure to itself. It stayed pure. This is what the heart is about. The heart consciousness is the purity. It stayed pure as carbon, and from under compression and stress and heat, it becomes a diamond, okay, the most pure form. This is what we're doing with our DNA. This is what we're doing through consciousness for ourselves and connection to our body. So where am I going with this? This is ultimately when we really tune into our bodies and the intelligence that we have, we can start to make these massive shifts and changes and become empowered in who we are. And so going back to my sort of experience that I've recently, just the last few days, a beautiful festival that's like the heart-opening soul revolution. So grateful for that. I mean, the first few days it was shit because I don't like camping. I do like a toilet, I do like a shower, I do like to be able to put my kettle on for my cup of tea. So it's challenging, which is also really interesting because this is this whole, when we talk about ups and downs as healing, it's spiral, but it's also an expansion and contraction. So I wouldn't say it was an up and down. I would say this was an expansion and contraction, or contraction first to then expansion. And so it really showed me that, okay, what is my safety? What's my natural bolt hole to go back? And how comfortable can I be stretching my comfort zone? And I went there specifically because I had to put my big girl's pants on and go on them on my own. I knew I had to do it and travel further because I realized I'd shrunk. I'd realized my comfort zone had shrunk. So I was like, I need to do this. So I did push myself, and with compassion, obviously, but knew I needed to challenge and stretch myself, because ultimately if I want to have the expansion that I want, I need to be able to fully allow my whole neural system to be able to expand, to reach new things, to reach new people and connection, and expand my business and everything else. So I can't live in a contracted state. And often we don't realize that we're in it until we are challenged to do that. So yes, it challenged me. And I thought constant, I'm going to go home tomorrow. I'm going to go home tomorrow. And it was like the second or third day where I was like, okay, no, I'm okay. This is all right. I'm meeting lovely people and starting to ground myself, starting to sort of find my comfort in myself. And what came through after just a beautiful conversation with someone, and we were just, there was no expectations. We were just sitting by the tent having a cup of tea and having just a lovely conversation, just flowing. And I was saying to her, I had this pain at like the back of my heart. I often feel like a restriction at the back of my heart, and it's like there just was like there's something lodged there. And previously, just before that, I'd had a treatment that poured beautiful oil on my forehead where I could see all these cobra and different signs. So the day was leading me up to this point. This is what you've got to really recognize, is that actually everything is in alignment. You just got to see it and honor that and recognize that. And that can enable your trust and belief in self and everything that is working for you, not to you. And so, yeah, I had literally had the most beautiful day leading up to that, connections and, like I say, a treatment, working with a rose, working with cacao and rose drops as well. It was all about calling me to soften and to open my heart. And before that, again, I'd had a Tantra workshop, and it was about connection. It was about seeing the awkwardness of connection to a complete stranger just through looking at one's eyes, placing one's hands on one's hearts, and also being able to be supported, to be able to allow yourself to soften and to be held. And I could feel my resistance through that. And it was interesting. So the beauty of this work is when you just become conscious of yourself, conscious of your patterning, your beliefs, your conditioning, conscious of what your body is trying to show you. And it was showing me that, am I safe to be held? The resistance to being held. This is the feminine, okay? Am I going to be held? Am I safe to be softened into this? Is this unconditional love that I'm being held to and supported to, that I can soften to? And one part of it that came out was a fear of being seen. I could feel it in the front of, like in the middle of my heart, like an ether part of me. It's like there's a fear of being seen because my desire is to be seen. Okay. The desire for me in my work and everything that I'm doing is the desire to be seen, to be witnessed, to be held, to be seen, to be honored, to love. That is the feminine. That's her true desire. Because she is like she is the undercurrent. This is why she birthed the masculine. This is why Sophia birthed the masculine. So she could be seen, so she could be observed. So the masculine is the observer. And so this is about bringing in the union of that to enable the feminine to be finally seen and to be held and to be witnessed. So that is like the desire that I have completely through my body. And it was really interesting that it then showed me my resistance to that. And within my heart, in this ether part, was this part going, the fear of being seen because what somebody will see. But that part of me, I say, I couldn't access. It's like, what exactly are you scared of being seen? What is that fear? What is it that you fear that will actually be seen and judged and etc.? And I couldn't access it. I couldn't get to it. Like, is this actually me? And so I was left with that. And I was then sharing that, having my cup of tea, going back now, and talking about this and just being in quiet and gentle darkness and just being present with the earth. I suddenly felt this energy coming out from my back like a witch, like really dark energy, like it could have been on a broomstick kind of thing. It was like that kind of energy was coming up from the back of my heart. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a witch here and the lady with me, beautiful soul. Like, I was just about to say that because obviously you doubt yourself. Let's face it, when you start seeing things and things, you just don't know whether it's actually real or imagination, but who knows what is what, right? As we're the creator and the observer, what is real? And so this came up and over me. And, I've done a lot of entity work, so I don't drop into fear of any of this now, because fear just creates more fear, whereas actually just love and observe and hold compassion for the space. That's the big healing shift of fear to love, the observation and compassion. And I could see her, it was a scorned woman, like that whole witchy creating curses, spells, just like so much anger and grr. So we talk about witch wounds, okay? And we talk about it from a witch wound of a suppression of the feminine and the burning and everything else and how wrong, awful that was. But there's also a witch wound, a shadow again of that, of how we women would have responded to that, and the scorn and the hate and the betrayal and the anger. So her form of protection was becoming the perpetrator. So the victim, martyr, perpetrator triangle. Okay. And so she showed me that. I'm like, okay. Because when I see these entities, when I see darkness, they have forgotten that they were light once. And so why coming with compassion to them is so fundamental. You can't fight them because they'll just return back with fear. If you literally just hold space and compassion with Kuan Yin, she comes in very strongly with me for this. Kali calls it out, sees it. Kuan Yin comes in and holds compassion. And it's calling them to remember that they were light once. They were light underneath that. They'd just forgotten under all this darkness and this hate and betrayal and, responding. Their identity had become this darkness. Was actually they were light. And because of their actions, they never thought they were worthy of that light. And so it's a perpetual motion. So when you hold compassion and remind them that they were light once and that there's forgiveness and that there's love, they melt, they dissolve all these patterns and these conditions and these protection to become back to light. I mean, if I've seen many beautiful entities just being so grateful for being able to be returned back to the light. And even if it's the most harshest looking one ever, but that's why you don't give in to fear. And then through that dissolving, I saw Kuan Yin, Mother Mary, Kali, they were holding her, and I could see an abused woman raped so badly, just so tormentedly raped. Whether she died from it, I don't know. She did. Okay, and whether this ancestral, I'm not entirely sure. Okay, yes, it was. Okay, so it's interesting. I haven't had my time to. It so deeply happened, and she was just locked up into that hate and that betrayal. Okay, this is the betrayal part. Okay, the back of the heart, the liver, the heart. This is what we're transitioning into. And through that, she was literally raging through, like you were giving birth, like rocking backwards and forwards and all fours, just like releasing all of this pain and this hate and this rage and this sadness and this grief and everything else that comes underneath that. And wow, I'm feeling I can feel the emotion behind all of that. And the next day, it was in this beautiful sound bath and just connection to my body. It started to move. I could see her there in her light, this beautiful goddess of energy, this beautiful woman in this white robe. She was just at peace and also equally really grateful to have been enabled to be set free, to have been set free from her pain. And there was this guilt an element coming back to me because she'd felt so guilty to have blocked me from receiving joy because of this protective barrier that's been on my heart, which has not enabled fully to connect into relationships, to have that protection there, which I can liken to my childhood trauma. And it goes even deeper. So she's just like held that there like a shield to one's heart, but equally has blocked me from receiving the joy. And I just allowed the emotions to come forward, to allow the heart to soften, to open, like the lagoon that it is, that it enables us to open, to receive, to connect to it all. It has capacity to do all that with observation, with space, with presence. And then it releases. Like I talk it like a lagoon. The ocean comes in and the ocean goes out. There's no attachment. That's the ability that the heart has, the expansion to hold all of that. And yeah, there were tears. There was grief. There was grief of like relationships gone or going because this pattern of protection that has been there that has blocked the joy. The grief of not being able to experience the joy. And then equally as a conversation of like, well, I want to do everything for you because I feel so guilty. And it's like, well, I don't want you to feel guilty because that isn't a good energy. You don't do things because you feel guilty about doing stuff. That just keeps you staying in that vibration. And so that we did a Honoponopono prayer and just exchanged forgiveness. And through forgiveness comes peace. It comes a peace that has an embodied wisdom to it, an insight. It's a processing of all the emotions, the whole rainbow, the whole emotional digesting of emotions, of discernment, of rage, of anger, of grief, of joy, of what do you receive, what do you take, what do you let go of, and all of that. And huge intelligence. This is why I call it gold. This is why I've created Daughters of the Golden Rose. It's all about how we can tune into all of this and how through the power of alchemy we can set ourselves free and becomes our inner gold. It's like the final aspect of where we can go as humanity and how we can learn and grow and create this innate wisdom that, like our immune system, once it's had a virus, it has the T cells, the B cells, it holds that innate wisdom that when it comes against it, it doesn't even affect it because it already knows. And this is like a resonance, it's like a frequency, it's like an intelligence that we're raising this emotional intelligence and consciousness as a soul, as a human, to recognize that I will not fall into that pit, the shadows. Thank you for the shadows. I've alchemized it because it's become my innate wisdom. So I don't drop into that in amnesia. I get it. And this is the empowerment that we're doing. I see like golden steps of a pyramid, and the beautiful sisters and the priestesses and Kuan Yin and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary, they've embodied this and they're here to take us to this point, to become the foundations of this new golden age that we're talking about, people are talking about. And so they are like a bridge to this. We're the embodiment of them. And then what they have done will allow us to go forwards. And it's like they're like an old era, but they will come forward with us through this embodied wisdom. Okay, we won't let them, they're not going to disappear. It's like how we embody that and step forwards with that to the new generation, to the new era, that what we're seeking to create. And women are going to be doing that. Women are going to be doing that, whether we're talking about birthing, we're talking about womb. It's not necessarily always children. It may well be the fact that you're needing to do this womb healing to enable the souls, the powerful souls that are going to be coming forwards. They're not here to do the generational shit and healing. They're here, our wombs need to be pure, which is what I saw Mother Mary, sorry, is that she did an awful lot of womb work to enable she was the virgin. She wasn't virgin through no sex, she was the virgin through the pure womb, to enable Yeshua's soul to come through, to enable him not to have to deal with all the generational shit, right? So he had the pure feminine line to enable him to be born, to be birthed. And Joseph was very active in that process too, by the way. And so we are here to birth these powerful souls that don't have to do the generational trauma shit. They're literally here, once they're walking, they're talking, and they're creating, and they're doing new, and they're making massive waves. So they're starting off, they don't have to have 40 years to try and work this shit out, okay? And then you've also got us ladies here. We've probably had children already, or we've birthed projects, and we're birthing communities. We're birthing a new way of living. This is what we are all being inspired to do. I just imagine why you're listening to this, is that there's something that you fundamentally recognize as a purpose of what you want to really bring into the world. And we're birthing that, and we're birthing that through community and collaboration and alignment, which also obviously has to get us through the comparison, the competition, the setting against of women against women, which is when fucking humanity fell, when that happened, basically, because women they're the most powerful holders of this frequency. This is why we're so fucking amazing, how we can show compassion. And this is what the womb has been. It's been it absorbs, and we would have alchemized, we would have purified, we would have cleansed, and we'd have taken, the deepest, darkest emotions and moved it back into gold. We are the sorceresses, we are the alchemists, but we've forgotten that. And so what we've done, we've become the martyr, we've become the victim, we've absorbed, and forgotten that we could alchemize it. And the womb has just held onto that. I see the womb blood lining has just absorbed that like a black hole, okay? Protecting the sacredness that is Sophia, with deeper within the white hole. And so our menstrual health, our hormones, everything else is being affected because we have forgotten the power of alchemy and the sorcerousness that we are to our heart. Not the sorceresses into like black magic. We are there's what light and dark. We are both, but it's the consciousness of that, the direction that you choose, and whether it's pure with heart. This is why all my work is about heart and purity and connection to that. And so this has really shown me the journey that we need to enable us to be truly seen, to be honored, to be equal, to be recognized, to be our full self. We need that divine masculine. And we need to look at all those woundings where we have pushed away. And it's so interesting that we're just seeing it in the outer world, the motherless websites where men are talking about how to drug their wives and rape them. And and you got the misogynistics, you got leaders in power that are just like, ugh, just the whole representation of what is not right. Which get an awful lot of press because the press is all part of that as well. And it wants to keep you looped into that fear of victim, and masculine is bad, and women are suppressed, and it's keeping that division there all the time, whether it's race, sex, religion. It's trying to always keep us in separation, because when we actually realize that we are one and united, we're fucking powerful, right? And so what we have to do is really not give ourselves where our energy. We have to recognize we are the creator and we are the observer. And so we have to be able to really discern where we give our mental energy, and whether it's these bloody phones and social media, and what are we opening into, and what are we giving our energy and attention to. And to know that you're not your thoughts unless you choose them to be. That's the powerful thing. You are not your thoughts. You are love, joy, and peace. That is your truth. Anything else isn't. But you have to be able to create that conscious pattern breaker, that space, that breath, that moment of stillness and connection to your body, to your heart, to earth, to go, is this my truth? And then you become the curious observer of all the shit that starts to come up. You go, oh, okay, that's interesting. But I'm not going to give you my energy. I'm not going to go down that vortex. I'm not going to go in that self-sabotage, that woe is me shit. I'm not going to do it, because I'm going to choose love. I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose peace. And the affirmations that I do for this when I have felt this happen is I am love. No, I choose love, joy, peace. I choose love. I choose joy. I choose peace. Come to my heart. I am worthy of love. I am worthy of joy, and I'm worthy of peace. And I come to my womb, and to my whole body, my feet, and then I am love, I am joy, and I am peace. And I repeat that as a mantra. And like within 5 minutes, you can feel a shift. You can suddenly start to see a shift of perspective. And they go, what the fuck was all that about? It's just like, wow, you have managed to take you out of that vortex, that whirlpool that wants to drag you down in the torment of being miserable, and yet somehow self-sabotage. It like makes you feel good, making yourself feel bad. It's like a real fucking weird shit, and it's just crazy. And so by doing that affirmation, those mantras, it gives you that life boat. It gives you that rope to go, I'm not doing this. And so it's really powerful when you start to feel your mind shift. You put your hands on your heart, you recite those words, and that is enough to create a space of consciousness of self, to choose something different. And that can be in 5 minutes. You can do that. You could do that every day, waking up, like brushing your teeth. Often bring your toothbrush into your different hand and start reciting those affirmations. Your body, as soon as you've taken something away from what you normally do in your subconscious, so if you're always right-handed with your toothbrush and you're choosing now, I'm going to take that toothbrush and I'm going to put it into my left hand. And now I'm going to brush my teeth. You have now swapped from subconscious patterning to consciousness, to observation. So now your brain's going, well, this is different. What's going on here? Okay. And then you bring in those affirmations. Then you bring in a sense of joy and peace and everything else. And then you'll create neuroplasticity. I was just about to go pretend to do my teeth then. You're now bringing in a consciousness, a new neural pathway of what you actually desire. You're building neurons in your brain and your body. You are making those shifts. If you do that every day, like a few minutes, you're making those shifts, because often to make shifts, we can feel so fucking overwhelmed that we just don't do anything at all. So when you can think, well, I just need to brush my teeth and put my toothbrush into my right hand and say a few words, that's achievable. Okay. That is powerful and it's achievable. And it's like the little lever on the old train tracks that it just shifts it. It shifts it a degree. It doesn't mean that the tracks look very different right now, but you've shifted. You've created a pattern breaker and you're creating new pathways. And it's not to say you'll fall back to the other way. It's that totally happens. That's when you need compassion for yourself, just to go, okay, I can see that. And I know this journey is going to be a challenge, whatever it's going to be. But I understand that because I'm so heavily ingrained with this. But that's okay. I'm going to love this. I'm going to become curious and hold shitload of compassion for myself. And that is the most beautiful journey that you begin. Okay. The self-awareness, the self-authority, the boundaries that you create, the like, oh my God, I've just realized I've been a people pleaser all my fucking life and I'm just miserable. But I've sacrificed my own inner peace. And it's just, yeah, you've got to let the anger come up because that anger is saying, I deserve better. Yes, but you don't stay in anger. You don't stay in the fire because, fire is death and rebirth. But if you stay in fire, you're just killing everything, right? The forest can't regrow if you just burn every fucking thing down, right? Which is that protective, scorned woman that will just burn this shit down. And it's just exhausting. And so you have to be able to find your grace as well as a woman. You have to find that, like that embodied fire, that water, fire and light. I see it. It's like the light that travels through the water, like you would see in a beautiful, which I saw in Sardinia, which is where this all began. The light that flows and gently trickles and sparkles through the water. So your water, the plasma that is your body, is the carrier of this light, of this consciousness. So yes, you need the fire. Yes, you need the rays. You need to awaken that fire and that spirit in you. But you can't stay just in that energy. So it's the embodiment of all the elements, the earth, the water, the fire, the spirit, the metal. It's all of these parts are coming together. And so that's been my journey. That's quite a long aspect of sharing there, but hopefully you can feel that weaving of where you may well equally be experiencing this for yourself. So your body and your energy and the creatics and the flow that has been called to us is to step into our joy, into abundance, into bliss, into pleasure. And for us to do that, we've got to look at all the shit that stops us from doing that. Okay. So we need to do our shadow work and not fear our shadow work. The moon before that, the full moon, the Scorpio, this was Black Madonna coming in to say, okay, I'll lead you through that. I'll take you through that. But the interest in meditation, it didn't actually have you in your head with that. It's in your body. And then you had to allow your body's intelligence to be able to heal whatever fears they were in those dark shadows. Because if the mind gets involved, it just becomes a loop. So that was because I was a bit like, well, what are you going to show me? You can often be a bit fearful. And that's why we don't do the work because we're like, what the fuck are you going to show me? I don't want to be re-traumatized and I don't want to judge myself. And it's like, actually, just let your body do the work. Go off and stay in nice peace and love and trust your body to do this work for you in the unconscious. And so you don't get attached to it. And so each new full moon is just showing us our little stages and steps to how we are to be to our true higher selves. And we've got a full moon now coming up in Sagittarius, which is all about how we're going to lead, how we're going to bring in purpose to this world. And so I guess, again, that will be showing us what it is that we need to let go of to be able to do that, to be that full expansion, that full expression, to show up in the world. Okay, so that part of me that didn't want to be seen, that went down into ether, which was that scorned woman that has come from being hate and betrayal and abuse, enabled me to now open my heart and to be able to open it more. It's a petal upon each petal. I'm not saying it's ta-da, here it is. I know it's still needing to move because interesting today, my left shoulder from doing yoga suddenly spasmed around my left shoulder. And it's all around the sort of the heart and then coming around into the chest, the gallbladder. So I know there's something that's still wanting to find space and to shift out. And I tuned into my body and I said, what is it? What is it you need to show me right now? Because this is a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm just going to love you and understand what it is. And it was a part of going, am I safe? Am I safe to trust? Can I come out? I Can I come out here? Can I be seen? Am I safe? Can I trust? And it's like, okay, all right. And it was like a little child asking me that question. And I was just honest back and I just said, believe so. I haven't got the answers for you. But what came through was, from a faith perspective and a trust, is that actually my desire for it to be so is far greater than the fear that it will not be. So again, I'll say that again. Will it be okay? That faith. The desire for it to be so is far greater than the fear that it will not be. And that's the shift. That desire for it to be okay, for it to shift, to change, becomes the more powerful force than the fear that wants to keep you contracted. So there we have. First of all, I completely relate to what you've just said in her own way, in her own experience. So we'll experience this in our own ways. The energy of it is kind of the same, but it's how we receive it, how we see it, how we process and digest it is and how we've acted on it will be different. So if this is something that's really resonated with you, and I expect if you're still listening, it has, you can come and join the Daughters of the Golden Rose Telegram group. Eventually, I'll have this as an online community, but at the moment, it's Telegram. So you can drop into that and you'll be able to see that link, and I'll drop that into the comments as well. But also the Daughters of the Golden Rose container, which is this 13-week container, but it's self-paced and you have it for life. And you go back to it as and when you need to. But it's set up as a 13-week container where you have one meditation each week and you can listen to as much as you want. And each meditation that same meditation can create different experiences. It's like it's little keys to unlock, and you listen to it several times and it keeps unlocking another piece, different version, stuff that you didn't hear in the meditation before, suddenly you hear it in this next time. And so it's always unlocking you and giving you what you need at that aligned time. So it's timeless, and there's no such thing as time. So when you're working in the heart, you work into the whole, everything that is, that has been, that has to come, or hasn't, who's to say it hasn't even happened in the future already? Maybe we're the past of the future. Who knows? That it's that through the heart you're connecting access to the heart source and everything. So, like I say, you will connect to what you need to connect to at that point for you and for your body. So this is all about embodiment. It's about allowing the slowest part of ourselves, the denser part of ourselves, to meet at that point, to be able to transition, to be able to alchemize, to move. So we become more lighter in body, in our hearts, and in our minds, and then ultimately frequency, because we are alchemizing and shifting this lead like 30 hertz up to 528 hertz of love. We are shifting, we are resonating, we are moving our bodies through frequency and the density that's in our bones to ultimately become a frequency that is this love, that what we want to attract in ourselves and our world. And we become, through resonance, we connect. That's the difference. Everything's about frequency, which is interesting because I've just bought myself a shamanic drum, which is the shape of a yoni egg, which is like fucking incredibly powerful and can connect into the womb and give the womb a voice. It's just so gorgeous. Anyway, there's more to come on that one. But yes, so you've got Daughters of the Golden Rose. You'll be able to see those links. And like I say, it's something you can go back to each time. It's there for life, basically. And with that, you've also got the Infinity Health Hub for a year membership on that, included in that as well, because then you've got all these other integrations of new moons and full moons to help support you through this. All right. So thank you for listening, and I just send you lots of love and compassion. And if it's one thing you can do today, just take a moment for self and just breathe, and to give yourself a hug, to know that you're okay, and to allow the desire to allow it to be okay, to be greater than the fear that it isn't. I think that's a big shift. All right. Thank you for listening, beautiful souls, and lots of love.